So we have this empty project named pet license, and so it only contains the code blocks project file, CBP file. So now I will say new folder and create the source folder for my code, and this is where I would like to download my files that we were working with, and that was named pet license application version 2. So I will just simply be like right-clicking, download, save link as, and point it to my latest project source subdirectory. Just save them all, download, save link as, and just save all 3 of them. Okay, and then go back to my project, and now essentially say right click and say add files, and go to the source where I downloaded these guys, and of course main CPP, and if you press Control and click, you can select multiple files that you don't have to make multiple trips to this directory to add these files, right? But of course you don't add header files to any lists of your source files, because the header files are processed by the preprocessor when it resolves the includes. You only add CPP files to your to the list of the source files, and that's what I'm about to do. Okay, so now if I unwrap the structure, so I have this. Of course, I need to be able to save everything and then say build, and once we begin to build, for instance, right here, let me just see the logs. View logs. Apparently, right now, this says here that. Well, first of all, I get warnings about C++ 11, so obviously I need to go to my build options and on the compiler settings tab right here say that I want to include this C++ 11 standard. That's one thing, right? So now I would like to basically perhaps clean it first. Yes, and then build again. Oh, so this time it builds fine. So whatever, that was the only thing I needed to change. So now I can basically, as I did before, I will say File, Open, right, and go to my. Let me resize this to make it more usable. Go to list of my projects, and now I am under week 15 pet license. Go to the source and open the header file, right? So I again, all of the implementation is stored in my header file. So and also look at the main, right? So what I'm trying to do in my main function here, I am trying to basically say owner add dog and cat, and this is depending on the type of object, type of pet that the user wants. So this time, basically, maybe I can add another function to create my pets. Right, so let me see. So these are some constructors that I have here. Whether the pet owner is senior citizen, calculate fee, print. There's plenty of functions already defined here, and there are also constructors for different types of pets. I think that I can act similarly to the demo that we did last week, and over here I had essentially a function which is constructing a pet, right? So I can basically move this, essentially use the same type of logic to organize and isolate creation of pets into a separate function. So I'm just pressing Control-C and going to the pet license.cpp implementation, and somewhere here adding create pet, which will take, let me see what it actually requires to create a pet right here. So let me just organize this side by side, right? And so when we create a dog, we say if type is D, right, or otherwise we just create a cat. So right here, the type needs to be passed to this function named create pet, right? So create pet will basically taking a pet type, which it already does. So instead of saying if and whatever, I will say owner add, and the add function, whatever that add function does, what I will be adding here is essentially I will be calling create pet, right? Create pet. Add the result of create pet, and create pet will simply take a list of parameters, and these parameters include the type, right? Will include the type. Okay, so I have the type, and also name, age, color, and whether it's an adoption, right? Okay. So the list of the so this is a kind of lengthy way of creating a pet, but arguably this is a much better choice, I think, is a much better choice than this if-else statement. If-else statement is okay somewhere at the lower level. I'm using actually switch in create pet, right? But all this logic can go down to this level. And basically, instead of doing this if-else in the main function, I can just simply say create pet, and guess what create pet does? It takes all of these parameters and constructs, so I just kind of paste my if-else statement right here so that I can see what I need to type, right? So when I create the dog, I need this list of parameters. When I create a cat, it will take this list of parameters, and I'm assuming that the horse also takes the same list of parameters. But the important thing is that I'm switching on the pet type, CDH, and say new, and new, right? And I'm not sure if we do have a horse here. I don't think we do, so I'll just get rid of that, right? So I know I no longer need this if-else statement at all. I'm just switching on the pet type, and pet type is already supplied. What I also need to supply to this application is the rest of to this function create pet is the rest of these parameters, and they are here. So again, I will switch to like a vertical listing of these parameters like this. And so create pet is a rather function that takes a rather oh, I don't need this name right here, right, because I already have it, a rather lengthy list of parameters, but nevertheless it's useful function which creates a pet of a specific type, which is cat or dog, right? So when we make changes like this, and here now I got rid of if-else statement, now I have a function which is solely dedicated to creation of the pet. When we make these changes, it's advisable to make small incremental changes and compile often to make sure that our changes don't break anything on a major scale, and we don't have to go way back to undo changes in order to be able to compile again. So just say build again, and so I get an error, so that was useful, right? So it can say view logs, right? And just to see what the compiler says, create pet was not declared in the scope. Oh, okay. This is because the main CPP has no clue that function like this create pet even exists. So I need to go back to the pet license and notice that pet license is included at the top of main. So pet license header file is the right place to actually say this is also the function that we have, which is essentially create pet. And instead of implementation, this is just using a semicolon because this is simply a function declaration. Brings this function to the scope. That's all compiler needs to know about the existence of this function. So hopefully I should be able to build it with my change. So now it says assert, okay, and view logs. Apparently error assert was not declared in the scope, so obviously I need to scroll back, and in order to be able to use the assert, cassert, I need to include the correct header file, right? So in this case, we have to include cassert in order to be able to compile with assert. So that's the one that was missing. All right. Save everything. Shift Control S. Build. Right, so this time it builds fine, and as far as it builds, I will just keep moving forward because we have some changes to make here. Okay, so let me examine the header files. So we said that right now, for the purposes of making everything happen, class pet is using compute fee and compute discounts. Let me actually move this to this tab, this side. How do I do this? Right. Now, let me find implementations of these functions. Pet. Here, pet compute fee and compute discounts. I don't want pet to be able to compute fee or discount. I want to be able to to have specific classes such as dog or cat to be able to compute these discounts, as well as print. So what I'm about to do is actually this pet compute fee and compute discounts. These functions are now going to be made specific for a dog, right? Well, let's see. A dog version of it, and then let me just do dog first. Dog type of discount for licenses, and then also duplicate this, like copy and paste, and duplicate this for a cat as well. Cat and cat. Version of these two discounts and fees. And of course this has to be using the cat needs to say cat fee plus tag fee, and likewise compute discounts is whatever the logic is doing right now is fine, right? But this needs to be simply saying compute the dog fee, right? So compute fee is actually quite different for dog and the cat, because the dog version of compute fee says dog fee, cat version says cat fee. That's two different implementations. Of course, what I need to do in my pet is to say, well, you know what, these functions are gone, so I need to say virtual, that these become virtual functions. So I prefix them by saying virtual, and I will actually provide let me see what print does. Print, yeah, I will just make everything pure virtual right here. 0, 0, and 0. And so now I took care of compute fee, compute discounts. Now I need to take care of print. So let me find the current implementation of pet print, right here. This is the implementation of pet print. But I'm saying that, well, you know what? I will no longer provide this implementation at the level of pet, and instead I will make this essentially Control-C and Control-V, make two other versions of it, and there will be a dog version to print this, and a cat version to print, right? Let me check this now, right? So so remember how we used to do this? We said if there is a type such as C, we're going to print cat or dog. So this time, this other decision-making logic becomes unnecessary, because all we need to do is now say, okay, this is a cat. So again, things get simplified, which is great, right? And over here, we just print the dog is a dog, and we don't have to invent any logic, any if-else statements or anything to be able to tell the world what kind of pet this is, because dog knows what to say and cat knows what to say by themselves, right? So that's why this is the right direction, and we and then we make print, compute fee, and discounts pure virtual functions. Save everything, and again, with small incremental changes, let's just do a build. Okay, and so here it is not happy with something. I think that my cat and dog, these two classes, only have constructors, and of course print compute fee, compute license. They simply need to be declared. Need to be declared for dog, and they need also be declared for a cat. But these are no longer pure virtual functions, so of course we just remove =0 from their declaration, and I have tendency not to repeat virtual at the derive class level, right? So in fact, they're identical, so I will just basically copy and paste it in both places, right? So that makes sense to make sure that the dog says I will provide these, and they're no longer abstract pure virtual functions. They're actually something that we provide. Okay, so something else my compiler didn't like, view logs, and it says in member function name is private. So someplace here I am trying to access the name, and most likely it's the print function is trying to use name and age and everything else. In order to keep these pieces of data, in order to keep this private, but make them available to use by the derived class, we can essentially declare what we have so far in the pet class, a protected. If we place these pieces of data shared by cats and dogs, which are derived from the base class pet, then these guys will be continuously available, and we can say dog print, and we can still access name, age, and adoption. If we made these, if we placed these data members inside the pet class in the protected section. Protected keeps them private and inaccessible outside of this class hierarchy, but cat and dog can refer to these data pieces without a problem. So Shift-Control-S, save everything, and build this, right? So this time everything builds fine, right? So I'm trying to move in this direction, and so let me examine how do we store. So when I say in the main function, when I say right here, owner add create pet, I would like to examine what this add function does inside the pet owner, class, just to see what's going on in there.